That was the perfect time for the raid, Scullyface. Thank you for the raid. Welcome to the Fallout Lorecast. This is the end of the month patron episode where we get together with our tier 4 and up patrons to talk about something at the end of every month. And I'm here with our whole host of characters. You guys are all characters, right? That's what you are. Just nod. Yes. And they're actually dressed up as characters, a lot of them, because it's that time of the year. And because it's that time of the year, we will be talking about the scariest things in the wasteland that we would have to deal with if we were actually living in the wasteland for real. Like, what would totally freak us out that we would actually have to deal with if that was real. And with me for our first patron chat episode is my co-host Lainey. Lainey, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hello. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, you get to meet everybody and talk with everybody, and you are dressed up as a hot dog.
I am. Do you want to get a reveal?
Yeah, do a little dance. There you go, a little hot dog dance. Very nice. Very nice. I can say that again because Borat is also now relevant for the first time in like 13 years. And with us, as usual, let's just go down the list. We've got Aperture Flash. What's up, Aperture?
Hey, guys. Happy to finally make it to this episode. I'm parked. I'm at home. I'm resting my heels, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. You look much more comfortable than you usually do when you're stuck in a truck at a truck stop or whatever. Very cool. Then we got Fire Rider. Welcome back, Fire Rider. Oh, she's hitting her buttons.
Oh, my, back and forth. Okay, hello.
You look very very regal. Is this your what would you call this costume?
It's the Minutemen General.
You're just the Minutemen General? I see. All right. I didn't know if you were a specific person or not.
I'm me.
Okay. All right. Fire Rider, the Minutemen General.
Really look.
All right. Very nice.
This is what I wear, at home when I'm relaxing.
This is your casual evening wear. I see.
Hey, same. That's relatable. This is my casual evening wear.
Mm-hmm.
She gets it.
Yeah, in the cold
Dress
winter
for the
months.
job you want, not the job you have.
That's right. In the cold winter months, Lainey wears a hot dog outfit in order to keep her warm. Then we also have Grim Saber. Grim Saber, welcome. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm dressed as a still image of an Enderman.
Yes, you look like a still image of an Enderman. There you go. It is very creepy because it is a very still image, and you look like you're in the dark. So congratulations. Very creepy. Then we have Nunimer. Nunimer's back. Nunimer, you are dressed for the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is the Fallout Lorecast, but I think you already knew that.
Well, I'm just here to talk about all the creepy things like werewolves, the Dark Brotherhood, Daedra. I'm got it all locked down for this episode. Let's go, Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
All right. This will be like 9/10 Fallout Lorecast, 1/10 Elder Scrolls Lorecast this week. Then we have Soybean. Soybean's back. Welcome back, Soybean.
Hello. Speaking of werewolves.
Soybean, can you take a sip of that drink for us while you're in your costume? This is amazing. Those of you who are not watching this live need to be watching live right now, or at least looking up the video of this later, because this is phenomenal. Watch how this works. She's wearing a big wolf head and sticks the drink all the way in the mouth. Oh, it's so good. Oh, that looks so weird. Thank you for that.
Refreshing.
Isn't that how you drink your soda, Tom?
Yep. Here we go. No, my cup's too big. I can't fit it all in my mouth.
Product placement.
I need to get a bottle. Yeah.
Sorry.
Then, then we have the Mothman's Spooky Ghoul. Everyone keeps changing up their names because it's Halloween. Mothman, welcome back. How's it going?
Spooky season. It's going pretty well. I'm glad to be here again.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get this rolling.
Get the spooks on. Yeah, get the spookies on. And then we've got Victor. Victor's back. Welcome, Victor.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. And this is my evening casual wear because this is a onesie pajamas that are also bendy.
Yes, very nice. You're looking so good. And I like the lighting behind you. You got it looks like a purple glow in the camera. I'm not sure if that's actually purple lights or not.
It is. This is purple LEDs, and I've got spiders up in the gauze.
Very cool. Nice and creepy stuff. This is awesome. So, welcome back, everybody. This week we are talking about spooky, creepy stuff. Now, who would like to get started with this? Who wants to go first? Anybody? Oh, we got Aperture Flash. Aperture Flash starting us off. Go for it, buddy.
Well, Tom, in my many years caravanning across this fine destroyed nation, we see many scary sights, and I've got to say the worst places we have to go to are anywhere that has to be accessed via subway tunnel. The worst in particular is in a little place you might know as the DC. Washington,
the Washington D.C. tunnels. So what I love about this is when I was thinking like scariest things about the wasteland, I was like thinking like having to deal with death claws or raiders or the lack of food and shelter, and you're like, no,
it's
subways. Public transit.
Like, honestly, the scariest part of the entire Fallout thing is when I realized Mazda didn't exist in this universe, and so people can't see the majesty of the Mazda Miata, but that's not nearly interesting enough to talk about. So, when I first started playing Fallout, it was my first real first-person shooter, kind of open form, go wherever you want sandbox kind of game. So I didn't really realize just how messed up the tunnels were. I figured each tunnel would be like a room you'd go into, you'd see some people on the platform, but you wouldn't actually be able to explore the tunnels. Wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I got lost. I didn't think at the time, it never crossed my mind to actually pull up a wiki or a map of some kind, and so you
didn't Google Map that thing?
No, I didn't Google Map the DC tunnels.
The DC tunnels?
No, I didn't pull up a transit app. But my first playthrough, I didn't think to have different saves set up. It would auto save every time I'd pass through a door, so I pretty much had to commit to everything I was doing.
Wow, yeah.
And I went a little deeper, and before playing Fallout 3, I had watched my cousin play the Skyrim, and Skyrim has spiders in it. Now, I don't like spiders at all. Like they creep me the fuck out.
Yeah, the first dungeon you go to, Bleak Falls Barrow, is like there's a giant spider. Yeah, totally.
Spiders, yeah. And that's why I struggle to play Skyrim. I've made it to maybe level 5 in Skyrim, and I stopped playing.
You're like, nope, you just noped out of that
fuck
one.
this, too many spiders. Yeah. Too many spiders.
Yeah, you watched all of the Lord of the Rings movies, and then you got to the Return of the King, and you were like, oh, big spider. Nope.
Fuck that. No, I'm out.
I don't care what happens
the
to
ring
them
never
anymore.
made it. Yeah.
Right.
Spider ate the ring. Too bad.
Yep, spider wins.
So I knew that they were the same developer. So I was just waiting. I was like, there's going to be a spider in this tunnel. There's going to be a spider in this tunnel. There's going to be a spider in this tunnel. And I was like playing it like the whole time. I was just so tense and scared. Like the ants that kind of creeped me out. I could deal with them. Don't want you coming close to me. The scorpions, stay the fuck away from me. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I was always expecting to turn a corner and find a spider. And to the point where I wouldn't be paying attention to where I was going. So I'd keep hitting dead ends. So yeah, getting lost in the tunnels, just anxiety inducing. And yeah.
So as far as I know, unless you modded it, you never ran into any spiders.
No, but it was always there in the back of my mind because there was the ants that would run around.
Yeah.
So I'd hear the chittering noise and I'd be like, "Oh fuck, this is it! Here they come!" And then I'd be like, "Oh, it's ants. Okay, I can deal with ants."
Yeah. Did anybody else have any memories of running around in those tunnels? Did you guys find that creepy also? Anybody? Yes, we're getting nods. We're getting nods.
I mean, there
My
was
biggest problem in the tunnels was that I got lost all the time, and that was the part that drove me crazy. The first time I played 3 was I spent more time lost in those damn tunnels, hearing the feral ghouls making noise all around me and just going.
Yeah, and then running down some side corridor and there's mines on the ground all of a sudden, and then blowing yourself up, and you're like, ah, crap. Yeah.
Oh, and the layout of the tunnels is absolutely chaotic. Like, you know, it doesn't follow the format you'd see on regular maps or anything like that, and it doesn't line up with the surface points. So if you kind of know where you are, and you kind of head in that direction, you're not going to end up on the surface in the same place you think you would. Right.
Yeah. It's not like a 1-to-one thing. Yeah. Totally.
No. See, yeah, that's the thing for me. Like when I first played Fallout 3, I didn't get as scared anyway. I don't scare very easily, unfortunately. I actually wish I did. It's not a brag. I wish I could be scared. But that was actually I remember at the time everybody was everybody was complaining at the time about getting lost, and I didn't have that problem. I wasn't getting lost. I actually really I just mapped it out in my head right, and I was just one of those people that it just worked just right for. But that was the one fear bottleneck of the game where I got in there and I was like, the way the thing that scares me about the Fallout 3 ghouls is this. The way they do that spook thing where they're like, and it's like, but the fact that they do that is reminds you that maybe there's something human in there that they're I want to be scary and intimidating, and their human brain is telling them, be a scary human. And it's that's, and then all of a sudden they start charging you, and it's that freaked me out, because the ghouls and up to that point in Fallout 1 and 2, for me, the ghouls the feral ghouls were not that intimidating, especially from that top-down perspective. They were just more or less like fodder, Right. But then they became this thing, this whole new force of nature in Fallout 3.
Right.
They're very scary.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't help that I went into the tunnels at level 3 the first time I played through. I got lost and went into the tunnels.
Yeah, that's no good too.
No, it wasn't great.
Yeah, you're not supposed to get to the tunnels until a little bit later.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any? And here's kind of a fun way that we can schedule out this episode. Does anybody else have any topics that kind of tangentially relate to this to kind of move into? Oh, Soybean does. Soybean, what's yours about?
So I wanted to talk about bugs. I wanted to talk about insects and arachnids and all the creepy crawlies in Fallout.
Yeah, okay, so this absolutely relates. This goes, we're going right from tunnels and spiders and ants and arachnids to creepy crawly bugs, which, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what's your perspective on this?
So, the first time I was introduced to a Fallout game was Fallout New Vegas, and I was instructed to go up the hill, to go visit my gravesite and look for clues. And what's waiting for me climbing up that hill? Except bark scorpions. I had never played a game that had scorpions coming after me. And a bunch of little guys with my little baby character. It was very scary, and I put down Fallout New Vegas. I literally quit Fallout New Vegas because of bug scorpion.
Wow.
And then after that, the person who was getting me into Fallout was like, all right, let's take a step back. Let's try you out in Fallout 3. You're going to start off as a literal baby. And I'm like, awesome.
Babies are cute.
Sounds good to me.
That's totally fine. It'll be safe.
Bullies, I can handle that. I can handle that.
Okay, so...
Right,
so what happened when you got to you got the BB gun roaches. And the rad roaches, yeah. So what happened there? How do you respond to that?
I was okay. I felt safe. My father was there, if anything went wrong.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, if Christ is there, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so how was
3 was my easy in, and then I eventually got back to New Vegas. Now I can handle you now, bark scorpions.
So, is it something that's specific about the scorpions themselves, or is it just bugs in general and the idea of like giant bugs?
It's just bugs in general, and I think I can handle like bigger bugs. Like if it's a bug that was bigger than me, I think I'd be okay with that more. Even like big bugs, but like still smaller than me, I don't like it.
Aperture Flash is shaking his head emphatically, like nope.
The tiniest spiders, those scare me more than the big ones, because the little ones are harder to keep track of. Those will dart out of your vision in no time.
Okay,
and then
so
I'm like, where did that spider go?
So if we were to form up a mission and go to, what was the movie where they went and fought the giant bugs?
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, Starship Troopers. So like you guys absolutely would not be on my Starship Trooper squad with me. Yeah, we're getting a lot of no's. Okay, got it.
No.
Second question. Probably the most infamous bugs in Fallout New Vegas are the Cazadors, which have popped up in chat. What are your thoughts about those?
The Cazadors were okay to me. I don't know.
Really?
Like, I think things with wings...
Aperture's like, nope.
Things with wings, like, to me, the Cazadors were pretty, as well as, like, attacking. You know, like, they're dangerous, but pretty. So the prettiness, I was like, okay, we vibing. It's okay.
All right. I see where this is going. All right. What about the rest of you guys? Yeah. Other than just like nope, no bugs at all. Does anybody have like all bugs are fine except for these bugs? Does anybody have any like particular?
I have to fully endorse the first part of what Soy said about the bigger bugs being less scary. I have that same exact fear. Like if there's a small spider and I can lose track of it, that freaks me out way more than a bigger one that I can keep track of. And so in a situation, and now let's apply that to putting ourselves in the Fallout universe, right? A small bug could potentially be just as dangerous as a big bug because of disease, because of radiation, various factors. So a big bug...
Nope.
A big bug is a bigger target. They make more noise. You're going to be able to keep track of them. You're going to be able to fight them to a degree because you'll be able to, if you have a weapon, if you have a gun, you'll have a larger target to shoot. If you're trying to fight larger ants, I mean, I think I'm a fairly good, I've never shot a real gun, but I mean, I practice with like Nerf guns and stuff like that. I could do that.
Right.
If I was like shooting, I don't think I'd rely on my skills for that at all.
Okay. So, but what about the fact that bugs have exoskeletons? And as the bug gets bigger, then the exoskeleton gets equally larger and thicker. So like if you were to imagine a man-sized ant, then what caliber gun would you need to puncture the exoskeleton on a man-sized ant?
50 caliber BMG, nothing less.
Nothing less. You got it. Like that. Holy crap. You would need like a bunker buster on that sucker.
I was going to say that the bug out of Fallout that would scare me the most actually are Mirelurks, because Mirelurks are based off of crabs and lobsters, and those are bugs, people.
They're like water bugs. Yeah, they're sea bugs.
I believe someone's doing that.
That ties into
yes,
mine.
that's somebody's category, so we might want to put a pin in that.
Yeah, here's the difference. Here's the difference between that, though. You get yourself a stick of butter, and that just becomes a meal.
If you can puncture the hide. Well, here's the thing.
Listen,
when you play,
That's why I will not eat lobsters and crabs, because they are giant bugs. It's disgusting. I won't eat shrimp either. Blah.
So a few thoughts on this. One, it's why their face is like the only place you can actually shoot them and really damage them in the game, right? Because their shell is so big. Two, my philosophy professor in college, the head of the philosophy section of the school, was he vegan or vegetarian? One or the other. But he made an exception for shrimp because shrimp were effectively insects. And he didn't believe they had self-awareness, so he could eat them.
I guess that's a vegetarian right there.
Yeah. So, that was his justification. But yeah, I think this is kind of a fun way to transition in, from bugs. Thank you, Soy, and continue this to this works really well back to Mirelurks. So let's talk about that.
Yes, Mirelurks. So, Fallout 4 was my first Fallout, and when I first came across the Mirelurks, I was like, I heard the legs of them scurrying around. I was like, remember, I was like, kind of like, what is that, a rad roach? Because like the rad roaches from the vault. I was like, all right, just another rad roach. This will be fine. And I turned the corner in these streets of this like dilapidated town, and it's just a giant crustacean coming at me, and I'm just like, ho, and I'm just like, and I was just shooting. And at the time, I was in an area where I was under leveled, so this was it was one of the Mirelurks with the skulls next to its health bar. So it was like,
you're like, nope,
over-leveled to me, and it just murdered me, and I was just like, okay, what was that?
Uh-huh.
So I continue playing, and I get used to the Mirelurks, and I'm just kind of like, all right, the Mirelurks, no big deal. They're still kind of creeping and unnerving, but I can shoot them in the face easy enough, kill them. And I come across, for the life of me, I couldn't find this location again, but I came across this fishing wasteland village, right? It's got these walkways over the water and everything, and so I'm like, all right, and there's Mirelurks nearby, so I'm like, okay, cool, kill a few of them, destroy their eggs. I go exploring the town. I find a holotape of this dead settler scavenger kind of dude, fisherman, and it is describing something picking off them in the town, murdering them all up, one by one.
Uh-huh.
And it's unnerving because it doesn't sound like a Mirelurk, because they're saying they have never seen it. So I'm just kind of like, okay, this is creepy as heck. So I'm continuing along, and I find the holotape of the leader, and it's basically describing him. He basically talks about he's the last one left, and it's coming after him. It's coming after him, and you hear a distant roar in the holotape, and then he's just like, oh god, and you just hear a bunch of shooting, and the holotape ends, and it's just like, what is this thing?
Uh-huh.
So I go crawling across one of the walkways over the water, just kind of looking around, trying to see what the heck has killed all these guys, and then it jumps out of the water. Mirelurk King.
Yep.
It lands in front of me, slashes me, and poisons me. I stumble backwards, and it cloaks, and I'm like, what the? And like, I freaked out. Like, I was just like, what is this thing? And then from there, I've hated Mirelurk Kings ever since.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like 76, they're even worse than 76 because they're unnecessarily tanky. And then don't even get me started on the queens. When I ran into my first queen.
Yeah. What about the mission where you're going with the the Minutemen to go clear the fort?
The Minutemen,
and the queen castle shows up. Yeah,
that was my first queen, and I was not prepared. I literally looked at Preston, and I was just like, well, this is it, buddy.
This is it. It's been good. We've had some good times, friend. We've cleared some raiders. We've helped some settlements, and I guess we're done now. Thanks for being there, buddy. Yeah, we're out. Oh man. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Mirelurk Kings or Queens, or you're coming across them the first time?
Yes, but not the first time. I remember when I started Far Harbor and I was just exploring around, and there was that camp that was built on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
The fort and I can't remember, the trappers or whatever they were called, and they were setting up there, and someone kept saying, there's something peering at me through the boards. And what ended up happening is they built on Mirelurks, and they came up from below. I mean, it had a funny thing where the guy couldn't figure out how to run the audio tape, and it's just him dying going, how do you turn this thing off? But in all honesty, that was like, I can't imagine that. Like, it's just, you're like, I built this base where no one can get in, and then they come from below. And that's one of the things that scared me about the Mirelurks is I was just walking around the beaches and through the...
Yes. Yeah, and then I just remembered the fog crawlers from Far Harbor, because I did Far Harbor like at level like 20, and when I was playing Fallout 4 for the first time because I got the Game of the Year edition, and
Right, okay.
I went to Far Harbor and I was just exploring, and then I just heard this like kind of foghornish sounding thing in the fog, and I'm just like, what was? And then out of nowhere, I see some gulpers running around. I'm just like, all right, it's just a few gulpers. So I go in to shoot them, and then I just see some giant crab, like lobster-looking thing, rush through the thing and just start just killing the gulpers. And I was like, ooh. Like the fog crawlers were even worse in Far Harbor. I swear.
So all of this is from like, I mean, obviously we're all dealing with this from the perspective of playing it as a game, and there's always that distance, right? Of like, you aren't actually there. In real life, if you were in that situation and you're equipped, you've got whatever weapons you have on you, you're walking around, something busts out of the ground, comes at you, it's bigger than you are. It's either a fog crawler or a Mirelurk or whatever. Would you be able to actually handle that situation? What would you actually do?
If I was, sorry.
I mean, it really just depends on what the situation would really be. Like, if I was by myself, I would haul ass out of there.
Would you just run?
I mean, if it was, I would just run. I would just bolt. I was like, I'm not dealing with that today. But if it was like threatening something that was important or like something, I would just swallow it and fight it. Like, because if it's important enough to me, I'm not gonna let some crustacean guy destroy it or kill the people that I care about.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because a giant insect, I mean, one swipe of their claws and there goes your arm, or your guts are now hanging out of your body. It doesn't take that much. I mean, humans, like, we're pretty squishy. There's not much on us when it comes to like a sharp object hitting us. So it really is a terrifying thing to have to deal with if you think about it.
I was going to say with Mirelurks, out of any of the crustaceans that I've seen, they're modeled to me after the scariest of them all, which is the horseshoe crab.
Yes.
Horseshoe crabs are terrifying, and they jump at you. And then I also wanted to say with like the, how would you react in that situation? I'd probably react the same way I reacted because I get really immersed when I play single-player games, and I was playing BioShock, and I ended up forgetting that a friend was watching me while I was playing BioShock, and it was first time after a long time, so I had forgotten part of it. And there's a part in BioShock where you go up to like loot a dead body, lights go down, lights go up, bodies move forward. And you do this several times, and then a splicer jumps out at you. Mm-hmm. I didn't remember that was going to happen, so when it happened, I screamed bloody murder, but I had managed to actually pull down on the trigger. And my friend turned to me and was like, "You're on my zombie team, because even if you scream like a little bitch, like my language, you're going to fire your gun."
You can still shoot, yeah. And hopefully you'll hit it.
That'll probably be my reaction.
Sure.
That'll probably be my reaction if I'm ever actually in that situation. Just like scream and instinctively squeeze the trigger.
Yeah. Aperture, I think you were going to jump in and say something. What were you thinking?
Yeah. First of all, horseshoe crabs are the most chill crabs ever. What are you talking about, Vic? And second of all, if we're fully equipped, we're eating good tonight, folks. If we're fully equipped to handle these things, them's good eats. I'm sorry. That's seafood right there. I see food, I eat it.
Yeah, I'm not even a hunter in real life, but if I was in a survival situation, I'm going to be killing anything I can to live and thrive. And I think App actually has a point, because speaking from experience, so this past weekend, I just started a new 76 character with a power armor build. And so the first several levels until I could get my first set of power armor, I just said, I'm not going to bother with any armor. I'm just going to skip that whole part of the game, just get it out of my head and not have any armor. So I ran until like level 25 with no armor.
You're just running around
at
like
all.
naked in your scabies?
No, like with the vault suit,
naked build.
With no bonus. Well, no, I had like a costume on, but just no over armor, no regular armor, no protection.
I
had no
Aperture
damage
is
resistance.
acting out everything we talk about, and he's almost.
There we go. Oh my goodness.
So now
what did I do? I'm sorry to those.
NC-17 stream.
I'm sorry to those offended, and you're welcome to those that enjoyed that.
Yeah, if your nipples get me banned on Twitch, then that's your fault.
But yeah, but then the thing is that as soon as you put any armor on, that armor is sci-fi. It's not. It's like magic. You know what I mean? The amount of protection that armor that we look at and looks like something we could have in our real world, it's not. It's tech that's beyond what we have. Because if that stuff is protecting us from like a Mirelurk claw chopping down, would just chop our arm right off in one hit.
Exactly.
But that armor is the key to how we would be surviving if we were exploring and hunting.
Yeah,
that's what my main like. Oh yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, obviously it's a video game. Like in real life, you can't be on the edge of death and eat 12 cans of dog food and all of a sudden be like super fine again. Like that's just
speak for yourself, Tom.
Health doesn't work that way, right? But in a video game, it does. So things are less scary because of that.
Yeah, and that's one reason I really enjoy my main on 76 because it gives me like that that like sense of like reality, I guess, because like power armor heavy guns feels doable up to a certain point. Like obviously carrying over 300 fusion cores on my person is completely unreasonable, but like up to a point it would seem reasonable to be able to take on stuff like that in power armor with a giant gun in your hand.
Right. Yeah.
I think almost for any of us, the calculus completely changes if we're like, you're in power armor.
Yes. You're in
it
power
would still
armor?
be scary.
Yeah.
It would still be. I'd still be like petrified, but we'd realize like I think you worded it once on a previous episode. You said like, can you imagine being the soldier? You land and then like a missile hits you right in the chest, and you're like, oh my god, I'm dead, and then you realize, no, I'm fine.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're a walking tank.
It's like,
it is a walking tank suit, is what it is. And the Mirelurk is scary, and its pinchers, could dent your power armor maybe, but they're not going to chop your arm off. And so all of a sudden, the game has changed.
Dude, you guys are nuts because let me tell you, even with power armor, even with armor, like knowing that in the game it'd be that beneficial. If I was just like walking around and encountered like a death claw, I'd crap my pants. Like, some people like it's like fight or flight or freeze, right? I would freeze and I'd crap my pants and I would get eaten. There's no way.
May I tell you about a death claw encounter recently?
Sure. Yeah.
I had a death claw encounter in VR last week. And there was so much screaming and so much it was the scariest thing I have ever seen, and it was kind of awesome.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. So let me attest to what Lainey is saying here with an example. When she and I hope this isn't too embarrassing. We joke about this all the time. When she was a kid, we would play like Zelda together. We'd play Twilight Princess, right? Twilight Princess was out, and I was like, "Get on the horse, just ride past the bad guys, just go do the next quest, do the next thing." And she's like, "No, I'm just gonna go back to the city and corral the cats." And she would spend hours picking up the cats and putting them in the part of the town that she wanted them to be in, and then they'd kind of wander off, and then she'd go pick up the cats again, and she'd put them back in the room, and that was how she played Twilight Princess, just collecting cats.
It's so funny that you're sharing this right now, because I was talking about this in my stream earlier. So a few people in the chat right now already know, and like Saber, I don't remember if you were there or not, but like I was talking about how like Twilight Princess and like other Zelda games, I'd run around and pick up cats and chickens. Like that's all I would do.
Yeah, that's all she would do.
The whole game. Or like
she wouldn't
in other
find
games,
anything. She wouldn't continue the quest. Nothing. Yeah. As
soon as I'd encounter something scary, I would just stop. I would just avoid it at all costs. Which I don't do anymore. Thank goodness. I'm finally like, I'm grown up. Like I finally can fight things. But yeah, I would get spooked. I'd get spooked by the littlest things and I just wouldn't deal with them. at all.
Yep.
When it comes to 76, the other chosen can attest. I am Leroy Jenkins in my power armor.
Nice.
Blood for the blood gods charging into the fray.
But bringing it back to Mirelurks, I would honestly rather get my arm cut off by something that I know is going to be delicious versus something that isn't. You know, it's risk versus reward. If, like, yeah, you might mutilate me, but if I kill you, you're going to be absolutely amazing in a chowder versus, well, that's a rad roach, so...
Yeah, nobody wants to eat the rad roach. That's what I was thinking.
No.
Yeah, you're not going to cook up the rad roach. That's not going to that's not tasty.
It's like shoe leather.
Yeah, that's or if that, it might just be squishy inside. Who knows? Ugh. You know how roaches are. Ugh, they squish and then they just yeah. I think they're just pudding inside, right? They're just like an exoskeleton with just goo. That's what roaches are made out of.
Next week on the Fallout Lorecast, Tom eats roaches to tell us the flavor of wasteland fare.
Dude, wait, if you want to, I'll eat a roach.
I'm so out.
You can eat the roach. That's fine.
Yeah, no joke. I'll try it.
All right, go find roaches. We'll eat roaches on the next show. All right.
I've eaten like crickets and stuff before.
Hey, cricket protein's good stuff right there.
Yeah. I feel like
I ate a scorpion, so
yeah,
and they're in Fallout.
Yeah, I can imagine that's kind of on that range. I think we've done a pretty good job with the whole bugs thing. Does anybody have anything that transitions out of bugs, or is this a good time to like go to the middle of the show and do our quick little thanks? I think it probably is. All right. Think about who might want to go next. We're going to jump to the middle of the show, and here comes the sound effect with the doors closing.
Good to see another of General Atomic's finest, still eager to serve.
So, thank you to all of you guys, first of all, for being here, for being part of the show, for supporting what we do every week, and thank you to all of our patrons, everybody who does this and supports the show and signs up to support it. It really is an absolutely amazing thing, and I appreciate all of you guys in chat, and also the new subs, the people subscribing and following the channel. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. So if you are interested in helping to support the show, then check out patreon.com/followlorecast. You can join us for next month's episode. You can help support the show with even just $1 or $5 and get ad-free episodes and early episodes and things like that. Also, if you would like to support the show, there are also sponsors on the Robots Radio Network, including things like audiobooks.com, where you can get 3 free audiobooks, and all you have to do is look at the show notes, click a link, and go sign up. There's a bunch of other deals in the show notes. I'm not going to take too much of your time talking about that this week, though, because we've got more chatting to do with our patrons, and that's why we're here. So let's get back to that.
If you have any questions about Nuka World, I'd be delighted to answer them.
Firerider, thank you for all those gift subs. That is amazing. You're awesome. All right, who wants to go next? Who else has some creepy stuff who hasn't gone yet? Oh, we got Victor. Victor, you want to go?
So, it's not history related technically, but it also technically is. Does anybody remember the Salem Witch Museum?
Yes.
I was you know exactly what I'm talking about, aren't you? I went into pretty underleveled. Fallout 4 was the first real Fallout game I actually played. I kind of modded into Fallout New Vegas and played like 10 minutes of it. And this, I think, was the moment when I decided to turn on God mode and start playing for the plot instead of playing for the challenge. Because, so I'm like, I'm wandering around. I'm like, hey, Salem's available. Let's go to Salem. And I find the Witches Museum, and you find a dead gunner outside, and you find holotapes talking about why the hell did this death claw chase us so far. And you in the holotape, you hear that the gunners are going to take shelter inside the Witches Museum. You can't actually enter it from the front doors. You have to go into the basement. So you already know that there's something in there. And the Witches Museum itself is actually rigged with jump scares. Like, as if you were to walk through the museum, it would jump scare you as you walk through.
Right, because it was
That's
kind of
one of my favorite things in the game.
Yeah, it's like it was built to do that as just the museum.
Right. So you're tense because of the museum. You're tense because something took down a couple of pretty tough gunners. And you can hear something, and then there's the dead body and viscera that falls through the ceiling sometimes. And you end up walking through this, getting jump scared several times, both by, like, the Deathclaw doing something because it's a Deathclaw in the end. Or, you know, the museum is like, oh yeah, we have pressure sensors. And you keep going through it, and you stumble upon this bathroom, essentially, and there's a dead gunner in front of it. And it does level with you, but it is the most powerful Deathclaw in the game. And it attacks you. That's why I'm pretty sure this is the moment when I decided, nope, I'm turning on Godbone and playing for the plot at this point. Because it hurt quite a bit when that Deathclaw hit me, and I was screaming, and I remember just being so tense the entire time, and I'm like, I don't even know what kind of Deathclaw this is going to be. I don't know what's going on. And then when I went back to look at videos of this, since I can't play it myself, to refresh myself on this, because I originally found out, I thought originally it was like Brotherhood, and found out it was actually Gunners, stuff like that. Found out that it's actually part of a bigger quest called Devil's Due, where you get the pristine Deathclaw egg. And that's what the Gunners didn't even know they were carrying Deathclaw eggs.
Right, yeah, I remember this now, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't realize why they were getting chased because they didn't know that they were carrying Deathclaw eggs. And the mother was actively chasing them. And you kill the Deathclaw that had been chasing, but you can take that Deathclaw egg back to the nest.
Right. Yeah.
And it is the only Deathclaw that will not automatically aggro on you. If you approach, the Deathclaw comes down, doesn't attack you, and you can use the nest like a storage container, put the egg in it, and the Deathclaw will leave you alone, and you can just leave. Of course, you can also put the egg in there and then open fire on the Deathclaw. Mm-hmm. And get the egg back. You can get a pretty hefty prize or reward from Mr. Handy inside Diamond City to get him the Deathclaw egg. And he gives you like some Deathclaw egg recipes. But I remember that being the scariest thing because I hadn't been playing Fallout very long. I wasn't playing it very linearly, so I was very much underleveled for the area. And I was having the tension and then getting jump scared, but not actually being anything. And then the Deathclaw. And I just remember that's the scariest thing I ever experienced actually playing Fallout was, or even looking into Fallout stuff besides the essential fear is the Witches Museum Deathclaw.
Right. Now, let's take this into doing this in real life. How would you handle that in real life? Would you even go near the eggs? Like at what point would you like realize what was about to happen and go, nope, and just like nope out of there?
I would listen to the holotapes and board the nope train and get all the way out of Salem.
Yeah, just automatically like that. That's it right there.
Not even enter the museum.
Yeah. Who else has any thoughts on Deathclaws? Anybody else want to go? Share any thoughts on dealing with Deathclaws? What that would be like in real life?
For me, I don't. In real life, I'm not even sure. But Deathclaw is a special thing because it's like in the games itself. When I first ran into one, I was like, okay, that's really cool, but it didn't exactly frighten me. So like, I mean, obviously, if this was like real life and a Deathclaw was charging at me, like legit charging at me, and I didn't have anywhere to go, then absolutely I'd be dipping. But maybe if I like had some way to, I don't know, give it a harder time to chase me, maybe I would try. But,
I mean, it's the closest thing to dealing with like a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what this is it would be like dealing with a dinosaur, but not just a dinosaur with arms. I mean, most predatory dinosaurs, you think about like Jurassic Park or, any of the movies where you have like velociraptors, like Deathclaw sized dinosaurs, right? And they don't necessarily have arms. They've got little itty bitty arms, but they have like a big mouth. But now you're dealing with something with a big mouth with chompy teeth and arms.
I was thinking, like, what dinosaurs are you looking at that don't have arms?
Well, I mean, they have arms, but they don't have like massive, like strong, like actual functional arms the way that a Deathclaw does.
Yeah, and like with the Deathclaw, the way that Deathclaw uses those arms, not even in combat, but how it moves with those arms is kind of actually really cool to watch. Because like it plants the front arms into the ground and kind of like launches itself forward, and it really just uses its back legs as much as its front when it runs. Right.
I mean, it's shaped almost like the size of the arms compared to the rest of the body are very large, almost like a big cat or a gorilla. Yeah, something like that. Which to me is much more frightening than something like a velociraptor, even though they have arms, of course, but they're not as developed. Really, it's mostly about avoiding the mouth, right? Like that's the thing that's coming at you. But with a Deathclaw, they swipe at you with their arms, then they maybe use their mouth and they use the other arm. There's a lot more going on that you have to avoid to have to deal with something like that. They could pick you up. Yeah, they pick you up and they can like squish you, and like that's way more frightening. So I think we lost Aperture Flash. He went bye. Bye, Aperture Flash. See you later. All right. Well, that was a good story, Victor. I remember having to deal with that. I remember actually bringing the eggs back and making friends with the mom, and then she didn't aggro because I returned the eggs, and then I was like, I've got a new Deathclaw buddy.
I have to admit, from a lore standpoint, it is absolutely fascinating that to me the scariest mission in the entire game has the one Deathclaw who won't aggro on you.
Yeah, right. It's kind of ironic.
I mean, the fact that it had I don't know if it would be intelligence, but it just kind of like it recognized you had its egg, and you were foolish enough to return to the nest. Mm-hmm. So like the fact that it didn't just immediately attack you and take the egg back, at least to me, that shows some degree of intelligence. Yeah, like you are helping. You are something that is helping it, so it isn't going to kill you or eat you or whatever.
Yeah. As a side note, when I was talking to other people about this as well, with going through all of that and going through with the Deathclaw egg, almost every single companion hates it if you take the egg back to the Deathclaw, with the exception of two. And they are Piper and Nick Valentine. They actually like it if you take the egg back and back away.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, so much goes through, I'm sure, in designing the game and figuring out the personalities and what things they're going to be okay with and not on each of the quests. That is interesting. Well, cool. Fun topic. Who would like to go next? We've got a few people who haven't gone so far. Lainey wants to go. Lainey.
Yeah, I have some thoughts.
What's your thought?
This isn't, there's not really a good segue here, but this is kind of different than some of the things we've talked about so far. I actually kind of have two examples. So I was thinking, if I was in the wasteland, clearly based on previous anecdotes about me this episode, I'm one to get spooked in video games. And not so much now, but I definitely used to. And it's funny because I love like horror things. I love watching horror movies, but I think it's the immersion factor, right? It's a lot spookier. Mm-hmm. So if I was living in the wasteland, right, I would try my best to just avoid things like creatures. And so I'd probably try to, settle in a settlement somewhere and be relatively safer, probably not deal with a bunch of the larger creatures, which in that case, your biggest threats would likely be raiders.
Yeah.
And people, I think sometimes, because they're so unpredictable, can be scarier than creatures.
Well, isn't that one of those? You don't know
what they're going to do.
That's one of the main horror tropes, and it does show up in Fallout games. The real monsters are people, right?
Right.
And and specifically Aperture Flash. He's pointing at himself right now. Yep. Yeah, you, buddy. I'm sorry. Sorry, you're the real villain here.
Not again! God damn it!
No, we found you out. Lainey's having some connection issues.
back.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
Yeah. So one second. Yeah, so I think that people would be a pretty scary factor, and not just raiders even, but like if you're in somewhere like Diamond City, there's a level of corruption in local happenings, and then also things like the Institute, right? You might get kidnapped. So there's a lot of pretty creepy factors there, and if that's what you have to worry about more than creatures, then that's pretty spooky on its own, and that would be psychologically damaging in a lot of ways. I also think that beyond people and beyond creatures, the environment itself is pretty terrifying, and radiation, is incredibly dangerous. And so clearly in the games we have like Rad-X and Radaway, which if that existed in real life would be very helpful. But radiation is really dangerous, and there's some areas we can be incredibly radiated very quickly. And if we encounter them in real life, there's no saves. You can't load back if you mess up. So if you entered an area with really high radiation, you're just done. Like, you're dead. That's it.
Right. Or
even if you were slowly irradiated for a period of time,
right.
You're not going to mutate in real life. Likely, you're just going to decay.
Right. Or you'll get cancer and you'll feel very sick, and things like that. That yes, that is also very frightening. And you brought up in the midst of all of these things the idea of the Institute in Fallout 4. This idea that like the people around you might actually be being replaced by robots that you can't tell are robots. Is anyone going to bring that up on this episode? Is that something that...
Wait.
Oh.
Your name is Robots. Are you a synth?
No.
Are you even my real dad?
No.
Tom's a synth.
That even is your real name?
No, I'm not a synth.
Yeah, he's not a synth.
See, BuddyBot said I'm not a synth, so it must be true.
Is BuddyBot a synth?
That sounds like something a synth.
No.
Yeah, no.
We all know that I don't trust BuddyBot as far as I can throw him, so, I'm sorry, Tom. This is for the best. This is for the good of the settlement. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Settlement. So, does anybody have the Institute or the fear of being replaced or people around them being replaced on their list of things that would be like absolutely frightening to deal with?
Not so much the replaced thing, but so much as the synth coursers. They're literally Terminators.
Oh yeah.
Like the quest when you go to kill the courser is legit going full Terminator on all the gunners, slaughtering them like they're sheep.
That might kind of lead into mine.
Okay. Yeah. Hold on one second. Lainey, is there anything else you wanted to add before we move on?
Oh, hello. Okay. Sorry, my mic was being weird. In relation to synths replacing people, I think there's a pretty scary factor, and you encounter this in some horror, where the people you know are no longer the people you know, right? And so if someone gets replaced with a synth, is that even... Like, do they have their memories? Really? Do you still share the bond with them that you had before? Are they going to be a completely different person? It's scary to, like, lose your connection with somebody and not even know why. And not so much in, like, a terrifying way. It's not totally applicable to this episode, but that's definitely kind of freaky, and you don't, lots of things could come from that, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of angles on that are all disturbing. So, Nudemir, where were you going to go with this? How does this transition into yours?
So if I'm correct, I think me and Fire are the only two that haven't gone yet, right?
No, I haven't either.
Oh, who hasn't? Oh, good. Okay. All right. I've been worried this whole time because I was worried about ending with me and Fire because ours are semi-related. We kind of thought about this from a similar perspective.
Okay, let's go.
And we are major downers, so be prepared.
So we don't want to end on it. All right, got it.
In a sense, I kind of feel like, and I'm not going to spoil what it is, but I kind of feel like Fire's answer is my honest answer, but her answer is something I can't even entertain. It's so, like, I just can't do it. So I'm kind of going with my second worst. thing that would be something scary to deal with in the post-apocalypse and the Fallout universe. And I kind of thought about this in aspect of what a lot of things, and this relates to a lot of things that everyone said already, which is that a lot of fears that we would have day to day would be based on a basic fear of death. Of course, cranked up to 1,000, but it is still that basic survival instinct, that basic fear of death that everyone naturally healthily should have. But now what gets worse is perhaps the ways we could die, or the increased risk that we're going to die, or whatever. So it's all really a matter of sort of variations of that, that aspect of just threat to your life. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to think beyond that, what are some other ways the wasteland can get you? And I was talking before about how I don't I watch horror movies. I love horror. It's probably my second favorite genre, but things don't get to me when I watch them. I just watch it for the craft, watch it for entertainment, sometimes for a laugh. Right. But one thing that does disturb me, not scare me, but disturb me, is body horror. Yes. Yeah. And body horror just is it hits me on like a deep. This might. App is feeling bad for coming back because I know this is side note. Trigger warning for App. Sorry.
I kind of love some body horror.
I love it too, but it disturbs me. That's why I love it. Because it actually gets me.
I also love when your Boston accent sneaks out. Then you say horror instead of horror.
Horror.
But that's
why it's totally fun. It has to rub off on me a little bit, even though I fought it for so many years. But anyway, so there's many ways in which the wasteland could change us, and that's why I was saying this kind of relates to the idea of the synths, because this sort of is, and this is how me and Fire Subjects relate. We're coming from more of like a cerebral, emotional perspective, where I was thinking about like how the wasteland could fundamentally change us to the point where we're no longer really human. Now there may be some of us that may be excited about that prospect, like if it's turning into a ghoul. But I mean it more in maybe a more realistic sense. And what I was thinking, and this is brought up a little bit by Lainey as well, with the environment, everything with FEV, the radiation, the nature of the way the Great War happened in the Fallout universe, not just animals have been affected, but all of the entire ecosystem has been turned on its head. Everything's cranked up. Everything's on max difficulty for survival. So that's going to include disease. That's going to include infections. That's going to include, bug bites. That was one that really started to disturb me with body horror, because if you think you get a really good mosquito, you get a really good mosquito bite, you get that giant swelled up thing on your arm because you scratched it a little bit too much. What could something 10 times that thing's size do to you if you survive?
Yeah, like the blood bug.
A blood bug would mess you up.
Blood bugs?
You survive. You shoot it up. You hack it with your sword. Right. But then you get back. But this is my thought process. So so this thing comes, right. This is kind of the scenario I'm putting myself in. I'm in the wasteland. I've thought everything through. Okay, I'm prepared, right? I've got my weapons, I've got my stim packs, I've got my armor. And this blood bug comes up and I'm shooting at it. It gets too close. I pull out a sword or something, start hacking away at it. And right at the end, it gets its stinger right through a little piece of my armor and it hits me. And I scream, fight it off. It's dead. I survive. I stim pack myself. I go back to my camp. And then I go to sleep. And maybe I don't wake up, or maybe I do, and I'm some Lovecraftian body mess of who knows what, because we don't know how these new life forms could affect a human, especially for vault dwellers, where we're more pure.
I love that this is grossing out Soybean so much that her ears are now covering her eyes.
I am having the desired effect right now.
So good.
I have to ask, did you ever read the book Scariest Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yeah.
Okay, bug bite.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're just not even just talking about like even like a mosquito bite, but like we don't know what the mutations to the reproductive systems of these bugs are. It's entirely possible because plenty of bugs do it, where if they sting you, they're also laying eggs in you.
Yeah, right.
No.
That scares me more than anything, right? So, like, I can deal with some body horror, but the body horror that always really freaks me out is when there's something inside someone.
Yeah.
Alien.
Aliens or spiders.
Or like it having a no spiders.
Spiders
going
laying
back
eggs
to
in
like
you.
But like going back to it possibly changing you. Have you read Metamorphosis?
Huge fan.
Yeah, that body horror. That.
Now that's a little more obviously surreal than what I'm thinking, but that sort of level of thing. Because and what about our perspective? What if chemicals in the air affect what we see and perceive? We don't even know how things may affect us. Maybe we go scavenging for some chems, and we go through some factory, some medical factory, and because of the experiments and all the crap they were doing pre-war, we accidentally expose ourselves to some fluid or some airborne toxin, and it mutates us, it changes us, it affects us, and affects, like I was saying, our perspective. And this is where I thought about a scarier thing to me. Death is one of the scariest things you can possibly face. But I thought of scenarios that are perhaps worse than death. Mm-hmm. That there may be many scenarios in the wasteland that we could survive,
right? But
that we wish we didn't,
right?
And we may even end up coming out very hard to kill out of the process. And we may be one of those monsters that wanders around and sees a person in a blue suit and attacks them, hoping that they're the dweller that finally ends their horrible suffering.
Yeah.
When they used to be a regular human, just like that person in the blue suit.
Right. So
you know how
go ahead, Lainey.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You know how some bugs and some fungi can kind of turn you into a zombie? It would be really terrifying to encounter a bug in a game, in a Fallout game, that could kind of do that to you and start piloting your body.
Well, this is a spoiler, but you haven't made it further into 76 yet?
Oh my god, wait.
That happens in 76.
Isn't it also in New Vegas?
There's the plant people, but it's different than what is in 76 is literally a version of what Lainey's talking about. It's based on that. It's based on the true science of that fungus. That actually is a major
plot point. Yeah.
I wrote a short film about that once.
You better get into the story because it gets good. You're gonna love it.
I'm sorry. Can we back up to what you said about insects turning us into zombies? What?
Oh yeah. So there's some wasps that will or is it wasp? There's some bugs.
It's an ant.
It's an ant. Oh, right.
And
Okay.
it's in a tree.
So there's some ants that will. They'll bite wasps? There's some of that. There's some other bug that will bite another bug and start piloting it.
Kind of fungus that grows like into the animal's head, I believe, like into like the brain stem.
Yeah, it's into the nervous system.
And
the other thing you might be thinking of is the wasps that lay their eggs in tarantulas, and then the tarantulas.
I wasn't thinking of that, but that's wild too.
Yeah. Okay, I no longer think we should save the environment. Thank you.
Just let it all burn.
Put it down.
Yeah, it's the mushroom and the ant.
Yeah, like Last of Us is a great example.
It's the mushroom to the ant, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a fungus.
It does it.
The
It's the
cordyceps.
fungus that does it to the ant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
we
The
had it
Last of
backwards.
Us is a great example of
Thank you,
the
Zoe.
fungus thing. Like,
Yes, it is.
because like the zombies in The Last of Us, they're legit mushroom people.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, back to the transforming into a monster and attacking somebody hoping they're going to kill you. I immediately thought of Wendigos. Immediately, because I don't know if we know for certain, but we don't know for 100% fact that being a cannibal and the mutations turns you into a Wendigo, or if it's just a mutation that turns you into the cannibal Wendigo.
Right. Like with the chicken or the egg. Yeah.
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 So like it's that kind of it's like that's what I immediately thought of, because the Wendigos, if you've seen them in the game, their arms are grotesquely extended, their fingers are long and razor sharp, their legs are the same way, and they crawl on all fours, and they're like bone skinny, and it's just disturbing.
We have those in Alberta. You think I'm joking, but I ain't.
Okay.
Here's the thing. With Fallout, we're talking about very much soft sci-fi radiation, as in it's more fantastical than what is actually the hard scientific facts of radiation.
Right.
Trust me, acute radiation sickness is not something that happens in Fallout, and boy, do I know the symptoms of it because of how many weird videos I watch. But if you want to see like the kind of mutations that Fallout radiation gives you is, I know you said you watch horror movies, Neo. Have you seen Annihilation?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know a lot. I've read some of the book. I have yet to watch the movie. Possibly because I've been holding off on it because I know how much it's gonna disturb me.
Yeah, it's and if anybody even looks up just like pictures of some of the transformation scene in Annihilation, there's one that's actually quite beautiful and it's still kind of disturbing on a deep level because it's pretty because she turns into flowers essentially. But it's still like she loses her humanity, and there are creatures inside the Annihilation Zone who are seeking out the humans who are going into it, trying to explore it because they want to die. And so that kind of idea of having fantastical kind of radiation, because this is Annihilation's like space radiation, isn't it, of some sort?
Or like a space microbe or something like that.
Yeah, it's
something like that. Yeah,
space something
from space. Yeah,
but it transforms you in a way that is very reminiscent of the Fallout radiation, and it's definitely along the lines of making you inhuman and turning you into something that is a fate worse than death, which is something that it does get touched on in Fallout itself. I wonder how many players actually stop and think about it that much, though.
Yeah, don't forget though on the radiation, like that. The part that's unrealistic about the radiation in Fallout is the way it affects the human body, like as far as like radiation poisoning.
Right.
But the radiation is only a factor in with, however, the FEV really is public enemy number one, as far as the fears of how life forms are going to change, how we could potentially change, and how even plant life and microbes and everything's going to be out to kill us. Everything down to microscopic life. And if we've been off the board for a while and then all of a sudden we emerge, we're not going to be prepared. And that's scary to know that everything either wants to kill you or change you into it or into something else. And that's to me even scarier than just death.
Yeah. So
you mean Australia?
In Australia, everything wants to kill you in Australia and Florida, which is the Australia of the United States. So what I want to know is you've got my interest, and I want to know how this connects to what Fire Writer is going to talk about. You said like your thing is kind of the setup, and she takes it even further. So
hers, okay. If mine, to me personally, if my fear is worse than death, then hers is worse than mine.
Is worse than double death.
That's how
Got it.
It's for me,
Double.
and this is very personal
Triple
for
death?
me and very personal for Fire. So I definitely agree with
quadruple
what
death.
she's on about. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
I would word one of the potential things she's about to talk about is that. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on? Because I really want to find out what this is. I think.
Listen, I'm already having nightmares from what Noom just talked about. I don't think there's much more terror that you can instill in me.
Get ready for quadruple nightmares, because here we go. All right, Fire.
Okay, so my fear. So if we're talking about, I'm in Fallout, me exactly as I am right now, this very minute.
Yep.
I have the exact same fear there that I do here. My biggest fear,
children,
would be what would happen to my kids.
Oh, really? I was just throwing one out there. I was just joking from the perspective of like, kids scare me, which is funny because you have kids. But no, okay, that totally makes sense.
Well,
yeah, all right.
What would happen
because you're a parent? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, everywhere you go, no matter which part of which wasteland we're talking about, there's all of these horrible things that we've talked about. The creatures and the humans, and within the human, raiders and slavers and cannibals, and there's evidence all over of what happens to kids, you know, and you see it in all these little ways. You see baby carriages, or you kill a feral ghoul that has a child's toy on it.
Yeah.
Or go to Warwick Homestead, and if you head around the back, there are little graves with toys on them. We don't know the full extent of what happened in these stories, but it doesn't matter. And that is literally the scariest thing I can think of, is not what would happen to me, but what would happen to them. And that horrible, helpless feeling when you can't protect them. And with my oldest, I've experienced some of that personally. Some pretty awful stuff has happened, and it's incredibly... I don't even have words for it, quite honestly.
It's tough as a parent when you can't,
it's horrifying.
When you find your boundaries of what you can do to protect your children.
Anything.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And the idea of getting up every single day and not knowing if something could happen to your kids that day, and trying to protect them from everything, and knowing that the odds are so stacked against you. That's my biggest fear. And it's the exact same as the fear I have here.
Yeah.
Can I
legit.
add on to that?
Sure.
Not clearly, who you don't know, but I'm not a parent. But my parent is here. And just thinking about this from a child's perspective, I think possibly even scarier, and not to make this worse for you, because I know this is your fear. Even scarier than that, and knowing that you have to protect your kid, is I think if you're trying to protect your kid and something happens to you, what happens to your kids after?
Absolutely.
Remember I said worse than death? That's way worse than death. Because if I'm dying and that's me, fine. Mm-hmm. I got a little cocky hunting some meat and I died. My fault, big sad. But if I'm dying and I'm thinking my kids are back in our camp and they're going to wonder, when's daddy getting home? When's he coming home with dinner? That's just, I want to cry right now. I'm trying not to.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is that this is the human condition and has been, for all time. Before the modern age, the human death rate was much higher by all sorts of things. It's only the last 100 years in Western, more civilized countries where we have medicine and the means to help each other out, and emergency medical services and all sorts of those kinds of things, that we have lower rates of death when pregnant, or death from hunting in order to just provide food for your family, or death from your neighbors deciding they want your land, and so now they're just going to attack your village and you're all dead. This is kind of the human condition, and hopefully we're moving away from that. That's debatable, but hopefully we are. And Yeah, that's extremely frightening. And in the wasteland, then that's just 10 times worse because there's so much more danger there, for sure.
Well, I would imagine that a child growing up in the wasteland would be far better equipped to deal with the wasteland than, say, a parent emerging from 76. So,
right.
like I imagine there weren't very many families coming out of, say, 76 or any of the vaults. So, you know, if you get out into the vault, you get out into the wasteland, and you meet a swell vault dweller, and you start a small family, and you raise your kids, you would be able to pass on all those survival lessons. I feel like they would have a much better chance at surviving than, say, you or I coming out of our cushy air-conditioned cave.
For sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
It would still be frightening, but
canonically,
and the rates would be
canonically. We know that families did come out of control vaults. Going back to the cutscenes, especially the cutscenes of Fallout 2,
true.
They show the Enclave killing literally
children,
a nuclear family coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in control vaults when they released, there were many children. I mean, look around the vaults, they have schools because they were multi-generational. So there were definitely children released. But the other thing too is that, they will be definitely equipped for the wasteland if they survive. And if they get through. And the thing, anyone who's had a kid can relate to this. I think about, what if we need to be quiet and you have a little one who doesn't understand? Just getting them to be quiet. Like this was in A Quiet Place.
Or that really dark
recently.
Or The Road. Stories like The Road.
That really dark episode of MASH.
Which is the idea of just needing to be quiet. The need to be quiet, and that a kid just doesn't understand that. I was my oldest is 13, and I was trying to get him to whisper because his grandmother was taking a nap, and he was struggling. I'm like, what if there was a horde of ghouls outside? And I'm like, no, and he's like, Daddy, like, no, we're dead.
The existential fear, especially in relating to children, all I can think about is like, even ignoring, let's see, I can't remember how it all got organized, but I know that there were like several vaults that took exclusively children and kept the population only children, and that was for experimental purposes. But even just the children who went into vaults, who are too young to understand what's going on, and there's not really going to be a good explanation for their generation. Or the children, like even yourself, right, in Fallout 3, you've been raised in the vault. And even if you're 18, you were raised in the vault.
Yeah.
You were never, like, isn't I can't remember his name, your dad's name. But didn't he blatantly say he planned for you to never leave the vault anyways?
Yeah.
If you're raised in the vault, you're soft and squishy.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
It's all you know.
And so what I find interesting is, like, you mentioned kids who would have been raised in the wasteland who would been able to handle it better. Little Lamplight does pretty dang well for itself, all things considered.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes, if you were raised in the wasteland, then you would be better at surviving because you were raised among survivalists, for sure. But the death rates and the amount of horror that those people would have to go through is significantly more than anybody has ever gone through on our planet ever.
And Little Lamplight is without adults too. So those are kids that already lost. They've gone through that gauntlet of fire of losing a parent from whatever, whether it be death or being abandoned or whatever. So all those kids have already been surviving on their own. So that's probably why Little Lamplight is so powerful, because children are super resourceful and super resilient. I think Fire and I, if we were to think about being in the wasteland and leaving our kids behind, we would hope that we've helped them to be strong enough to survive on their own. Maybe we're even sure that we've trained them well and we've prepared them, but we still know how it's going to affect them emotionally, how it's going to affect their ability to hold on to life. And holding on to life in life and death situations can be just that. It can be whether or not you survive, to have that little extra, to have that fight to live. And if you're worried that your death is going to take that away from your child, even temporarily, may be enough for them to lose that fight in one fight, and that's it. They're dead.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've got a question for the parents in this call. You're living your Wastelander life. You've got your young kids with you. And then one day, a representative of a organization, say the Brotherhood, the Institute, something along those lines, they come to you and they say, look, you've got a decent farm here, you've done well for yourself, we'll take your kids and we'll guarantee their safety, but you can't come as well, we just want your kids. Do you give them up to, say, the Institute or the Brotherhood with that guarantee of safety? Or do you keep them on your your tomato farm there, where you've got your kid, but tomorrow's another day. Who really knows what happens in the next raider attack?
Sure.
You know,
my answer is no, because the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how much you know about this other group and what they're, how much you trust them and all of that. In some cases, I think maybe the answer might be yes, because maybe you've built a relationship with some of those people, and you legitimately have seen the way they're raising children and what the opportunity is for your kids. It also depends on how old your kids are. Mm-hmm. If you have a 16-year-old and you're going, well, you're almost grown up at this point, this is an opportunity for you because I trust these people, then the answer is more easy to say yes than it is if you have a 5-year-old.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of factors that are involved with that.
Yeah, I mean, if I were me, knowing what I know now about the Fallout universe, and suddenly my family was transported into the Fallout universe, that would be a different, different calculation completely. Because Brotherhood of Steel, knowing what I know, even though I have some moral qualms with them, I might consider that, actually.
It might be a better existence compared to the option,
I know that they'll get good training. I know that they're moral people that treat each other as family, as kindness. They have discipline. They have all that seems one of the best scenarios you can possibly have in the Wasteland. Not the Institute, though. Ever. No. I would kill my own kids before letting the Institute take them. Not literally.
At that point, your kid might actually already be a synth, so
that's true too. Yeah. But in the actual world, probably not. Like, if I didn't know, if just a bunch of guys show up in power armor and they're like, "Hey, see that blimp up there? We want to go take your son in the sky."
Or say
power armor. I'm like, no. You saying he's a wizard? You're going to go to Hogwarts or something? Like, what's going on here?
Or say vault dwellers from a local vault come by and say, our numbers are a little low. We don't want any adults, but hey, you've got 3 kids. We've got air conditioning.
Right. We've got air conditioning. Yeah, there's some good questions. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on the Discord talking about this as we move forward. I'd like to move on to Grimsaber if possible. Mothman, did you have something you wanted to add real quick?
Well, yeah. Like everybody knows I'm young. I'm very young, and for thinking about this, it's for me. It would be less along the lines of I'd be scared for them. It'd be more along the lines of what is possibly in my power to protect them. Like, what could I possibly do for them, or like make a deal with somebody, or what could I possibly get my hands on to keep everybody I cared about safe?
Yeah. And then what are your options really? What do you have?
So like what is in this? What is in my hand that I can play that would be the most ideal?
Right.
And it's like throwing all like Fire and Neo said, like throwing all caution of myself to the wind. Like everybody else is more important. I could care less what happened to me as long as they're safe.
Right. Fire, do you want to finish this up? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think the one note that I would make there too is that there's that one other fear that they did so well in 4, where even if your kids make it, you have no idea how they're going to turn out or what they're going to turn into, and that's just as scary.
That's true. That's true. You can't decide who your children will become. You can only guide them. Yep. You know, I mean, you might have a kid that grows up into a hot dog. That's what I'm dealing with right here. So I couldn't have predicted that. Let's move on. We've got one more. Grim Saver. I guess we've saved you for last. Holy guacamole. How do you follow that?
So yeah, I have a 2-year-old sister, so that kind of hit me pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like the third parent because I've been babysitting her so much since quarantine.
Sure.
So we're very close. So anyways, one of my favorite things in Fallout, but also the scariest things to encounter would be like robots. Because one mistype on
this guy?
More like sentry bots, assaultrons. Like, just think of just mistyping a password or guessing a password in a terminal, and then a sentry bot comes out behind you and you're just blown to smithereens.
Right. Because a lot of them are just they're just acting out their programming. Yes. Or they're still defending a building that's been there for 200 years, and they're just doing their job, and you don't know that they're going to be there or how dangerous they are. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, considering my other 2 topics were taken, this is the best I could do.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, I love assaultrons, but like honestly, when I was running down a dark corridor and one came down after me with like that red glow and those claws, and I got tackled, that was honestly like one of the scariest moments I've had in like Fallout, is just me being absolutely destroyed by a laser.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how that would feel. Like, would the pain be instant, or would it be like...
It would probably be burning. It would be like a burning sensation that leaves a big hole in you. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. That's probably what it feels like.
Pretty awful.
Pretty awful. Yeah, I mean, really, this was brought up before, but the idea of... I think the closest thing that we could relate to it would be something like being chased by the Terminator, right? Like, this robotic killer is hunting you down because it's just programmed to do that. You know, how do you deal with that? How do you stop something like that from getting you? That's scary.
But yeah. You go first.
Yeah, there's just like thinking about the assaultrons and everything. There's actually a new variation of assaultron that came with the daily ops in Fallout 76 called the Assaultron Demolisher. And it's an assaultron, but it's got like a it's large, slightly larger than a normal assaultron, and it's got, instead of the claws, it's got a sentry bot minigun strapped to its arms, and then it's got massive armor plating, and it's it's probably one of the hardest daily ops boss you can fight. Because it's fast, it's tanky, and it just shreds with its dual minigun hands.
Dual minigun hands.
Here's a robot that is absolutely terrifying in a slightly different way. The robots of the General Atomics displays. Like, where you can go to, like, where the, like, mayor of the General Atomics area is a robot himself.
Right.
And, like,
the Galleria?
You can go to the restaurant where they serve you, as in they serve you as the food.
Uh-huh.
And all of that. These are robots that when you approach them, like even in game, if you're not warned, you approach these robots and you're like, oh, it's not a sentry bot, that's just a Mr. Handy. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, even a rogue Mr. Handy would be scary because it's got the little buzzsaw. You know, like you don't have to deal with that little flamethrower. Like that thing gets mad at you for some reason, and all of a sudden it's like, zip, oh, sorry, sir, I chopped your arm off.
Guys,
we're not even the robots who are like meant to attack or protect, like, you know, Soltrons and Protectrons and all that, but just robots who are either startled for some reason or are acting on code in unintended ways, which is the main thing of General Atomics. Right,
they're malfunctioning or reading their instructions wrong based on the scenario changing. Yeah.
Guys, we're forgetting the scariest robot of all of them.
BuddyBot?
BuddyBot. Where did he get those brains? Tom, we still haven't figured this out.
Whose brains are those?
Yes, I did ask that question in one of the live streams. But yeah, speaking of brains, brain bots, and like the fact that that's a human's brain, and like, but they're like a robot, and like that itself would terrify me personally. Like, I know I have the disconnection as a video game, but like going into the Mechanist lair would be absolutely terrifying. Like, and seeing all that wall of brain bots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about that on my stream earlier today. Just the terror of combining a human with a robot, and how like people want to preserve their consciousness in a database or, you know, in a robot or so on and so forth, but like all the problems that can come of that. And this kind of ties into what I was saying was so scary, is that humans are unpredictable, and if you put a human in a powerful robot body, they're a god now. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, there's a horror game called Soma that does a great explanation on that, and I'm like, I've seen it through. I've never played it. I never want to play it but yeah, no. Despite how much I love having my robot army in Fallout 4, rip my save file.
Yeah, there's a level of loss of humanity at that point, because like at a certain point, you lose the part that keeps you empathetic and sympathetic with other people.
What's fun about this topic, you're absolutely right, Mothman, to jump in real quick. What's fun about this topic is that this connects directly to Cyberpunk, and I do the Cyberpunk Lorecast.
It does.
Yeah, and we talk about, like, these are topics that come up because you're augmenting your body, you're replacing it. Some people get more and more closer to absolutely replacing everything. You lose your humanity the more you replace. It's a really cool topic. And I think it's one that we as a society are going to have to deal with. If we continue to develop scientifically, this will be more and more of a moral question. You know, like we're going to move from replacing a valve in your heart with something mechanical to replacing significant portions of your body, more than just, you know, fixing a broken leg, or giving somebody who doesn't have an arm the ability to pick something up because they now have a mechanical arm that's connected to their brain. At what point do we start augmenting people to do more? And this is, we just talked about this in the most recent episode, more than what you can actually naturally do. And then all of a sudden that becomes a status symbol, and you willingly give up body parts for augments.
Yeah, because it's like at some point it's like the question of when is it too much.
Right. And that's a bigger question. If you guys want to actually dig into that, we did talk about that in the most recent Cyberpunk Lorecast. So go look that up. But these are all really, really good, scary details and topics and stuff. Is there anything you'd like to say to finish off this topic, Grim?
I love my sentry bots, but I would never want to be chased by one.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I totally get it. There's so many scary things in the wasteland. There's so much out there that could get you. I would love to hear. We've had some great conversations tonight, and we've had a lot of people in chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in for this. I would love to hear and for your comments while we've been talking. I've been reading through all of those. Very cool stuff. I would love to hear some of your comments also in the Discord. So feel free to check out the Robots Radio Discord. You can pull that up in chat just by typing !Discord. There's the link if anyone needs it. And that's also a place where you can get a hold of any of us, because we're all on there all the time, chatting it up. So reach out to any of us on there if you have any thoughts about anything that we said, or you want to talk to us directly. Does anybody else want to give a shout out or talk about something you're doing that's really cool, or let people know how else they can get a hold of you? Aperture?
Oh, yeah. Do you want more Aperture in your life? Do you want more of the Canuck in a big truck? Of course you do. I'm fun. You can find me at Instagram, Snapchat, and of course Discord and Twitter. I'm trying to grow the Twitter at @Aperture_Flash. And also a new thing I'm experimenting with is I'm streaming. You won't find video games on my stream, but sometimes I'll point a camera at my face and tell stories of trucking as I go down the road. It's a good time if the internet doesn't crash. And if you really, really want to make sure I get your message, the best way that you can reach out to me is just send it to Firewriter. I'm sure she'll tell me all about it.
Yeah, but tune into his streams, because he has some crazy trucker stories. Let's share it in chat while we talk. Is it just Aperture? Is Aperture Flash _Flash? What is it?
_Flash. Aperture _Flash. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a new thing I'm trying out. I don't have a user pick yet.
It's okay. But it's fun. It's fun to pop in there and just listen to the. It's a good time. For sure.
Next episode, I tell my Waffle House story.
The Waffle House. The Awful House story. Hey. Anyone else?
I'll share.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay. So some of you already know this, but I've mentioned it a few times. I started streaming a couple days ago, and it's been a blast. And there's a few people, Overland Gamer in the chat's one of them, and then like Grim Saber is another one, who's been there pretty consistently the last couple days, and we're just talking the whole time. It's really fun, and it's been really fulfilling for me too. Like, I'm having a blast. I hope everyone else is having fun too. But if you guys want to get in on that, my schedule is up. My channel is Neos Pandora, just like everything else of mine is. And I have a Twitter now too for it. Also Neos Pandora, which I don't really have any followers yet, but if you want to find me on there, you can, and I tell you every time I stream. But I also have my schedule up, and I'm pretty consistent. So like, if you want to catch me on there, I'm doing Skyrim, I'm doing Fallout, I'm doing some other Bethesda games like Prey and Dishonored sometimes. And then I'm also exploring twice a week. We're doing some streams with just indie games. We're just exploring other indie games. Right now we're doing a game called Overland, which is pretty fun. It's a little survival game, little turn-based survival game. It's actually pretty hard. And I implore anyone who's listening to find the game and try playing it. It is surprisingly difficult, but it's a good time. So yeah, if you want to see any of that, feel free to come by. It's pretty fun.
Very cool. Yeah, go check out her stream.
I feel like what this crew needs is to just get together and play some Among Us and get kind of sus.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah, you guys should set that up in the.
Oh hell yeah, I'm down.
In the Discord, yeah, set up a time and place, and you guys should all play, for sure. I don't have it. I guess I could pick it up and play it too.
Get it?
Yeah.
No, it's
free. You just play it.
Oh, is it?
On PC, it is actually it's free on mobile. PC,
it's free on
like
mobile, yeah.
$3 or something.
$3.
I think it's like $5 or $6.
I mean, that's essentially free at this point.
Yeah. Who else? Anybody else want to share?
You can find me on Discord sitting in. But you can find me on Discord sitting in the comfy second place on the Discord leaderboard. No, I'm just humble brag. No, not so humble brag.
Not so humble brag.
Yeah, I stream occasionally, not as much lately just because I've been busy, but I stream occasionally at Mothman's Ranger, same as my Discord handle, though I'm currently in spooky season mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm only on Twitch and Discord, not very active on social medias because social medias can be stressful, so.
Cool. Fire?
If you want to get a hold of me, or you need to send a message to Aperture, apparently, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and it's Fire Rider with a Y all the way across. And if you come to my Twitch and you're really lucky or you have some channel points to spend, you can watch me play it while I wear this.
That thing's amazing. That's awesome. She's holding up a power armor helmet.
I've been popping into Fire Rider's stream and telling her to hydrate or dihydrate. It's been a good time.
Nice.
I will make sure that she drinks water. That's my job now.
Drinking water is so important. That's been my role on Discord for the last year. I'm very proud of you, Lainey. I've got no authority over you, but I am very proud of you.
You guys are now best friends. Look at that. Who knew? Woo! Who knew?
Water Bros. H2 Bros.
Oh my god.
Hashtag H2 Bros. All right. Anyone else? Go for it.
Yes, I am Saber1431. No underscore or anything. I am on Twitch and Twitter. I've been streaming quite a lot lately, actually. So I am a variety streamer. I stream a variety of things because I have a lot of games. And
you just started 76, right?
Yes, I just started finally getting into 76. I'm actually gonna play some after this. So
cool.
With Numenor. Yeah.
Nice.
Can I join you guys? Can I play with you?
Are you guys on PC?
Oh wait, I'm on PC.
No.
Yeah,
we're PS4.
Right.
Yeah, we PS4 peoples.
I'm gonna join the Chosen hopefully soon.
The Mothman's Chosen.
Yes. Praise the Lord.
But yeah.
That gives me a segue, and I know Soy had their hand raised too, but I'm Nunimer everywhere. I haven't been on Discord the past couple months as much, but I'm going to make an effort to be around more. I miss all my people, so I'll try to be around. And I also haven't been streaming as much, so I got to get back into that, but I'm hoping to be streaming some 76 hopefully this week. And I'm actually going to try something new. I'm going to stream Gunpla, which is Gundam model kit building.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to try streaming that. So, I'll have a camera focused in on my building area, and you can, see me read Japanese instructions and put Gundam kits together. And I figured try something different, and but you can also follow me on Twitter. I'm more active still on Twitter at Nunimer.
For those of us who don't know, what is a Gundam?
How dare you?
A Gundam is a mecha, or it's from a Japanese anime series and manga.
It's a big robot that turns into a jet.
Robot. Well, it does, but I mean, that's one version.
That's all it is. It's just a robot that turns into a jet. That's it.
Well, that's only one.
That's all it is. That's it.
Oh, like Megas XLR.
That's all. There's only one of them, and that's what it does.
No, there's literally like thousands, but yeah, but anyway.
everybody who's in the know is like cringing. They're like, no.
Crimson Weeb.
I love that show on the Cartoon Network. Megas XLR was great. Chicks dig giant robots.
It wasn't bad.
Come on, no one. Okay, I guess I'm showing my age.
All right,
everything. But anyway,
don't worry, AP, I remember that.
And I'm hoping soon. I've been on 76 a lot more, and in our little bit of inactivity with the Chosen, Saber was almost lost in the shuffle, and he reminded me the other night when we were playing together about wasn't I going to join? Oh yeah. So we might have some stuff coming up soon. Me and so I need to have a powwow and get some events together, and we'll get some fun stuff rocking and rolling for the Chosen. So
wow, awesome. Soy, did you want to add anything? Unmuted.
Sorry, I gotta lean in sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So being serious here, COVID is still an issue, you guys, and I just want to do a PSA. Y'all still need to wear your masks. Bruh, I've been wearing this for almost 2 hours. I can handle this for 2 hours.
You can wear a mask.
Can handle this fucking mask. Just a little mask for half-hour grocery trip. Like, sorry. Also, of course, wash your hands. If you're sick, call out from work and get tested. It might be allergies, but it could also be COVID. Like, honestly, no one knows anymore.
Support your frontline workers. Stay home. Yes. Wear a mask. Thank a trucker.
Exactly.
Thank a trucker.
I've been working at a hospital now, and some of y'all are making my job harder, and it's rough. Our COVID area is full. Like, I'm in the Midwest. It's bad. It's real bad, and I want it to get better. So everyone, do your part.
Everyone, do your part, because we want things to go easy for Soy.
Exactly.
Thank you for your service,
Soy. Is a happy soy.
Happy soy is a happy soy. Oh, yeah. Be good, everybody.
We must please the bean.
Please the bean. Anyone else? Anyone else? Like Victor?
Besides the COVID stuff, just on a happy note, guys, have a happy and safe Halloween and a blessed Samhain. This is my favorite time of year, so spooky season.
Yay!
Have fun, but stay safe.
Yay, spooky season. Great way to end that. And I think we're done, friends. Thanks for coming. This has been fun as usual. This has been awesome, and hopefully we'll see you guys at the end of next month again, and all the other days in between on Discord and chatting it up and playing games and all sorts of fun things. So thanks for coming. We'll talk to you next week. We've got another episode coming and some other fun things down the line. All right, everybody. Until next time, stay safe. Enjoy your Halloween. Wear a mask. Be good. We'll talk to you later. See ya. To plug into everything else we're doing, check out robotsradio.net. Also, look up the Robots Radio YouTube for videos about Fallout and other things. And check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/robotsradio. This podcast was brought to you in part by our patrons at patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast, including our Tier 5 patrons, Firewriter and Westosaurus Flex, and our extra special Tier 6 Liberty Prime patron, Azen. Your support is more than I could have ever expected, and I extremely, extremely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.